so many people here on a Monday evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Nina, for hosting this. We've been talking about this for a few months, and it's so beautiful that it all came together in this gorgeous space. Thank you, Soho House. Thank you to Nina and to the panelists. Before we begin, I am going to talk a little bit about my most favorite topic ever, periods. I've been critically obsessed with them for the past 15 years. I helped start Global Menstrual Hygiene Day, which is celebrated on the 28th of May every single year. The reason why is because May is the 5th month and we bleed on average for 5 days throughout the month, and 28 is the average number of days of a cycle. So we strategically chose May 28th. Now you have plans next May. Make sure you put on a period party or some other awareness event. It would be fun. But today I want to talk a little bit about what is so secret and what's so powerful about menstruation. First and foremost, it's more than just a period, right? Like we all know that if we have female bodies, we know the period as being the aspect that gets the most attention, right? Because we can see it, and it's actually like flowing out of our vaginas, and we have to use period products like these to be able to manage them. But actually, the period is so much more than the period. It's actually the 5th vital sign. So there's been a number of research articles and books that have been written that just like breathing, or just like our pulse, or just like our heartbeat, menstruation and the menstrual cycle is actually a sign of our health that is connected to all these different areas of our lives, right? So it's connected to like our cardiovascular health, to our bone health, to our skin health, to our respiratory health, to our mental health. And it's also a monthly report card. So if we're getting like painful periods all the time, or we're having terrifically awful PMS all the time, it's kind of like a report card that's like, yo babe, we got some problems, we gotta work on these things. Thing is, we've been socialized to believe that this is totally normal, and that we should be in pain all the time, every month, no matter what. I got news for you, that is not true, and it's just because it's a language we haven't fully figured out yet. The menstrual cycle is also an inner compass, meaning like it kind of helps us when we learn more about it to understand where we are in this very, very male-dominated world that is oftentimes unfriendly to the softness and the subtleness of our menstrual cycles. And it can also be this blueprint for self-knowledge and actually like a really important self-discovery tool. And as I mentioned, it's once you like learn a little bit more about menstrual health, you realize, oh my God, I can't believe we've been ignoring this for so many years, because it truly is a matter of our health overall. So unfortunately, all of this has been pushed down because we don't have enough education about it. And modern society has denied, interrupted, and overrode some of this very important knowledge, disconnecting female bodies, not just women, but anyone with a female reproductive system, from their truest nature. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that nature is. So it wasn't until 2021 that we developed, like in the world, an official definition of menstrual health, even though we've been menstruating since the beginning of time. So in 2021, we were able to put together this definition: your complete physical, mental, and social well-being during the menstrual cycle. So the menstrual cycle usually goes from around age 10 to 12, although now girls are starting their periods as early as 8 years old, up until 12 months after the last period, which is called menopause, which can be about 40-ish years. So when we talk about menstrual health, we're talking about almost half of our lifetimes, yeah? So menstrual health has 5 components. The first component is over here, information about the menstrual cycle. So people who menstruate have access to accurate, timely, age-appropriate information about the cycle, about the period, and changes throughout their life course, so that they are prepared and have the self-care and hygiene practices to take care of themselves. Number 2, which is the second aspect, is that they have materials, facilities, and services to care for their bodies. So they know that there's things for them, i.e. a toilet that has a door and a lock that's lit, that there are period products available either for free or affordably priced, that are not full of chemicals, that are safe for their bodies, and that there's a place to dispose of them or wash them if they are wiederverwendbar, reusable. This includes accessing these supportive facilities and services, including water, sanitation, and hygiene. We don't necessarily have to worry about that here in Germany, but in a lot of places around the world, minimum basic human rights to water and sanitation are not guaranteed, either for washing the body, washing the hands, or cleaning menstrual products, and it's something we cannot take for granted. They also then need to have the facilities and the appropriate conditions to change those menstrual materials and dispose of them. The third aspect is that they have to have a positive and respectful environment that is in relation to all of the menstrual cycle. So including the resources and support and the care that they need to confidently take care of their bodies and make the decisions that they need and make informed self-care decisions about their bodies. The fourth aspect is that they have access to timely diagnosis, treatment, and care for menstrual-related discomforts and disorders. The average person has to wait 10 years to get an endometriosis diagnosis, which is insane because people believe that bleeding for 10 days and being in incredible pain is normal. It's not, as I mentioned. And so this is really related to healthcare and making sure that pain relief and strategies for self-care are ensured. And then the last, but certainly not the least, is that people who menstruate can decide whether and how to participate in all aspects of life, whether it's religious, cultural, economic, social, political, free from menstrual-related exclusion, restriction, discrimination, coercion, or violence. So we may not think that that affects us here, but being unable to mention that we're in excruciating pain in a meeting at work kind of is related to this, because we have a fear that someone will judge us or think that we're weak because we say, oh, I'm not feeling so good right now. So this is really important for us as we think about and move forward, that the period is so much more than just the bleeding days. Unfortunately, we live in a world that's very much based on male-dominated rhythms of productivity. And so males have a 24-hour testosterone-driven cycle, which means they wake up in the morning, they have energy, let's get stuff done from 9 to 12, and then eat lunch, then you have a little dip in the energy, and it comes back up, and then it goes back down again, and then they get tired and go to sleep. We're all kind of expected to fit within this circadian rhythm of productivity, but actually, female biology, people with female biology have a 29-ish day estrogen-driven cycle. So completely different from this testosterone cycle. I like to think of it as like, if you were to stretch 24-hour cycle over 29 days, that's what our cycle would look like. So the first 2 weeks after the period is when we have a lot more energy, and then in the second half, it's a little bit more like after 6 p.m., right? So asking someone with female biology to give a pitch presentation or to do something really heavy at work on day 28 of your menstrual cycle is like asking a man to do a pitch presentation at 11 p.m. on a Friday. You wouldn't do that, right? It's a total disrespect of our rights and our boundaries. Unfortunately, this is the world that we live in, but things are changing. I want to give you a little bit of menstrual cycle 101 before we jump in. This is a graphic that I had to create because I searched online to try to find an accurate representation of the menstrual cycle. There was nothing. There was only ones like this, which show the menstrual cycle as a linear line. How ridiculous is that? Yeah? So this is actually a more accurate depiction of the menstrual cycle, which I like to think of as a cycle of expansion and contraction. Just like a breath. Or just like if you were to draw a circle, it starts to expand, and then once you get to the halfway point, it starts to contract. Yeah? Every menstrual cycle is between 21 to 36 days. Anything between that is completely normal. And it is classified by having a few different hormones that drive it. So there are more than 3 hormones, but we're just doing a light version here. In the first half of the cycle, estrogen dominates the cycle, and this is the hormone that's responsible for our expansion energy. It's the rose-colored glasses. Everything is looking good. We have clarity. Our brain is functioning a little bit better. Our neurons are being fired up because of estrogen, and it's bringing its girl gang with it, which is dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. So this is kind of like, I like to say, the Lizzo phase of our cycle, where we're feeling really good, empowered. The estrogen is even making our skin smoother and our voice higher so that we can prepare for this fertile time. We also have a second hormone here, which our male counterparts have, testosterone, and this rises or peaks right around ovulation. That's why we want to make babies and why we feel that libido urge. There's also a peak in testosterone that's closer to the beginning of the period or right before the period. Let's give a little head nod if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And these two hormones dramatically decline once we get into the second half of the menstrual cycle, where another hormone takes over. This is called progesterone. And if estrogen was like Lizzo, which is expansive energy, and you go girl, you got this, progesterone's a little bit like, if we were to deep dive and you wanted to learn a lot more about cycle syncing and cyclical living, we can talk later. But essentially there's superpowers of each phase that we have been told to kind of discard because we're supposed to show up the same way every single day. But in our menstrual phase, if we really tap into it, we can be very intuitive, we can be very powerful, and this is actually a very transformative time where the cycle starts again, and we can transform into an improved, better, or worse version of ourselves. In that second phase, we can be very expansive, we can be very inspired. Who knows of this follicular energy where you have a million ideas and your brain's just like, pew, 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 pew. You're like the biggest genius in the room, right? The third phase, we can be very social, very confident, and also very creative. And the reason the creative is because our bodies just want to create every single month. I don't want a baby, I don't want a baby. Our brain is like, no, I don't want a baby. But then how can we use that creative energy into other areas of things we want to create? Music, art, writing, whatever. That creative energy kind of follows through into this early luteal phase where we can be very focused and productive. And then as we kind of tail out the last phase of the menstrual cycle, this can be a very reflective, sensitive, and detail-oriented time where we can be using those negative qualities towards more positive outputs. Like report writing, for example, where we're looking for mistakes, or editing, where we're looking for mistakes. So the last thing I wanted to say here is a lot of people have period problems, and it is very common, but it's not normal, okay? And when we have consistently irregular periods, like they're all across the map, or we have heavy bleeding for more than 8 days, if we have consistent pain that is higher than distressing, this can be a sign of some deeper root causes, like endometriosis or polycystic ovarian syndrome or uterine fibroids, all of which have different pathologies. We can also experience pain at ovulation, which is connected to root causes, extreme mood changes, burnouts and pushing, perimenopause, which is the phase after menstrual cycles and before menopause. All of this is our bodies in some way trying to communicate to us. And whether we listen, whether we're given permission to listen or not, is up to us. So I just want to leave you with the fact that there is a secret power to menstruation, and that is education. And the more we know, the more power we have, the more embodied we can be. And that means that understanding that the menstrual cycle is a vital sign, and it is a monthly report card, and something we should take seriously. And that pain or extreme PMS are signs that your body might need some extra TLC, tender loving care. Also that the menstruation, the cycle itself can be this compass where you're like, yes, I am going to say no to going out tonight because I'm on day 23 and it's going to feel really good to get my 9 hours in tonight. And knowing these hormones and which ones are more dominant, when, and the phases are also really helpful for you to make decisions in your life. And then, as I had mentioned before, menstrual health is connected to all of these other areas of health: mental health, our nervous system, our immune system, our cardiovascular health, etc. So if you want to connect with me or learn more about anything related to periods, I give workshops, I do speaking opportunities, I work with companies and do consulting. I also work with people one-on-one and also work with people like on the longer term. So I'm super excited to have given you a little foundational knowledge. Most of it was probably not new to you because you seem like a bright and enthusiastic group, and I saw a lot of head nods. And yeah, thank you so much for your attention.
Such a great talk.